What's up, everybody? Welcome to State of the Nation, the Athletics Raiders podcast, an emergency podcast. We promised this one for you.
That's a bad alarm. That's better.
There we go. Jimmy Durkin and Vic Tafur in Alameda. And we told you last time that was it. That was the last one for that.
We lied.
For that under the current format and your current subscription. But we're giving you one more. We had to give you one more.
We love you so much. So much love.
I mean, we have to start previewing the AFC title game, the Raiders against the Browns. We're giving you the early preview.
There's a buzz around the league. People are talking about the Raiders and the Browns.
Well, that might be slightly exaggerating, but I mean it's a big day for the Raiders. A big week, and the trade for Antonio Brown, being able to acquire a guy like that, 6 straight years with 100 catches. I mean, a down season, quote unquote, last year, and he gets 15 touchdowns. And only giving up a 3rd and a 5th round pick. That's a big win. It's the first real big win for Gruden. It's a big win for Mike Mayock as the new GM. It's a big win for this building and a jolt of energy as this team gets ready for one final year in Oakland.
It is. I think it's definitely a fresh start for Antonio. You can see today he's definitely committed to proving himself and showing that he wants to be a leader. He mentioned having accountability, setting a standard for guys in the locker room. There's going to be fines if you don't do things the right way. Mm-hmm. So obviously there was a lot of baggage from him recently, the last few months, the way it ended in Pittsburgh. But I think he's definitely embracing it. He got some money, so obviously he's happy in that aspect. So I think he'll definitely be a very valuable and important guy for them in the next couple of years.
And the proof will be in the pudding and what we see out of him here. I mean, I know what we were talking about a little bit earlier is that, certainly everything that went on in Pittsburgh, not playing in that Week 17 game as your team's trying to make the playoffs. There's a lot of baggage that occurred over the last couple of months. I mean, all the weird behavior that really helped drive down his trade value. We're not sitting here and saying that you sweep that completely under the rug.
No.
But
we're saying you kind of maybe look at that down the road, like in year
you note it.
Year 3 of this deal, you may want to look back at what happened last year, but there's no reason to think the next 2 years he won't be the same guy he has been, just a consummate pro on the field, working hard, 100 catch seasons. He and Derek Carr hit it off, and I think the one thing that, talking to Brown in his camp today a little bit, I think people talk about the Big Ben thing. Obviously, there was a big fallout with him, and I think the one thing he won't get from Derek is important is Derek will never throw him under the bus. Derek will never, after a game, question him or go on a talk show and say, you know what, he ran the wrong route there, or he should have caught that, which was a problem with Ben towards the end. So whatever happens with him and Derek, that won't be anything that won't be a concern for Antonio as far as his quarterback throwing him under the bus at any point.
When you talk about, people want to paint him as being an older receiver. He's going into his age 31 season, and how much does he have left? And it's funny how we talked about this on our last show about how all of a sudden being 31 makes you ancient. And he was asked, how many more years do you have left in you as a number one receiver? And he looked right at Jerry Rice and said, that's the guy. I want to catch Jerry Rice. I want to break his records. And you look at what Jerry did. I mean, Jerry was a tremendously productive receiver at 39.
Right.
And so it certainly takes a lot of work. But you hear all these guys. I mean, you hear Gruden has said, I watched Jerry Rice practice, and this is the hardest working guy I've ever seen in practice. Antonio talked today that he's got his trainer out here with him. He's got his chef, and if he doesn't end up liking the meals here at the Raiders facility, he's going to have his chef start cooking, and if anybody else wants to eat his chef's food, they're welcome to. And how because of all that, he doesn't have to worry about waking up and knowing what to eat. He's got all these guys that are going to be locked in and helping him. So, we'll see. But I mean, he's a guy that's very motivated to not just be a guy that you look at it and say, well, he's 31, he's on the downside of his career. I mean, you can tell from him that. He's going to have this 3-year deal here, and in a couple years he's going to want another big deal, and he wants to be a guy that is going to be productive late into his career.
Yeah, he's used to winning. He says he's going to be a breath of fresh air in the building as far as getting people used to winning and getting to that standard. So I think it's a great sign. I think you get some young guys who can learn from him. I think Derek Carr, we talked about before, the pressure's going to be on him as far as having that big year and making sure that John Gruden thinks he's the guy going to Vegas. He has all the weapons now. They've got Tyrell Williams. They got Antonio Brown. They got the new offensive line, Trent Brown. So there's no reason why Derek can't have a big year. So I think it's going to be on him to show that he's a guy going forward. Now, Antonio Brown will demand it out of him. Antonio Brown's going to demand greatness out of Derek Carr.
I really like the Tyrell Williams signing because where he's coming, and he's I was nervous about him as a guy that, I know the Niners, there was talk about him, and you're nervous about him as a guy that if he's being brought in somewhere to be the number one receiver, because I don't, he's never been that, and I don't feel that I don't know that he's ready to step into that role. But you bring him here, you pay him, 4 years, $44 million, I think, are the reports,
right.
And you say, okay, you're the number two guy. You're going to be the complement to Antonio Brown. And suddenly I like that role for him. I like him being the number two guy to Antonio Brown. We'll see what that means for Jordy Nelson. I know there's a report from Mike Silver that it could mean the end of Jordy Nelson's time here. I would like to keep all three. They guaranteed him some money. I know they could save a little bit in the cap. I'd like to keep all three, but I do like the Tyrell Williams signing, and we'll see what that means for the receiving core.
Yeah, I agree. I would definitely. I'm not crazy about the numbers and the contract numbers. I think his pass production has not been great, but I understand the upside. He's definitely a big play guy. I definitely wouldn't like him as number one, but as number two, I think it makes sense. And again, I probably, if I'm going to nitpick, I would say I might have just got a receiver in the first round of the draft. I got 3 picks. I think you can probably fill that hole there. But, it's fine. I don't have no problem with it. I think definitely Gruden wants to have the best receiving core in the league. That's what he said. So he thinks he has 2 guys towards that right now.
Yeah, he thinks he has the best receiver in the league there. And Antonio
I
Brown.
agree. Beckham was probably close, but, still, he got traded also.
You look at what it took to get
If you're a great
Beckham.
receiver, you're screwed in this league. You get shipped out.
Yeah, you look at what it took to get Beckham, a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and a player.
Right.
They got him for a third and a fifth.
Right.
I take that. Obviously Beckham's younger, but hey, those guys are both great. And you look at the games that Antonio Brown's had over the years. You remember back the last time the Raiders went to Pittsburgh, he had close to 300 yards on these guys.
Yeah.
That was that's probably one of the most incredible individual performances that I think I remember having watched in person. Right. That was a pretty incredible game. And heck, the Raiders almost beat them that game. Still, that was a real wild game back there, 2015.
Yeah, like I said, even last year in a down year, 15 touchdowns, and I watched that game against the Saints where he was unguardable. So I just think he obviously has that in him, and I think he's going to – he mentioned today, he and Gruden are already talking formations, they're talking verbiage, they're talking ways to get him open sooner. So they're definitely like 2 kids in the candy store just kind of going nuts right now.
Yeah, and you look at the relationship that they're building. I know Mike Mayock mentioned today that he gets in this morning, and those guys are already in the office. Gruden had 400 cut-ups of basically everything Antonio Brown did last year, and they were diving right in watching it.
Man, love is in the air, man. People are everyone's. It's great. It's nice. Like I said, the key words to me are fresh. It's a fresh start. Last year was horrible for a lot of people, fans included. So I think now you have some hope, and you at least see some kind of plan. It wasn't really a plan last year. Now there's a plan. Build up the offense and the defense, ideally hitting the draft, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I know the popular thing to say is now, well, hey, look, because we didn't guarantee Khalil Mack all that, we're able to spend this here. And you know what? I'm a little bit getting on board with that. It's you look at where this team was without Khalil Mack, and you look at where they were with Khalil Mack, and sure, I still he's a guy that you don't want to let out of the building, but you did, and then now you're in a position where you have brought in some talent on this offense. If they can go into this draft and with those 3 first-round picks and then the high second-rounder, if they can find 3 starters for their defense and get at least one real impact guy. Say it's Josh Allen at number 4, or Quentin Williams at number 4. Now, I don't think either of those guys is going to be a Khalil Mack for you, but if they are good, if they are a 10-sack kind of guy for you, if they are a guy that is going to produce, and you get 2 other starters, and at least one other really good contributing player, this team could make this rebuild happen pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree. Yesterday, when talking about the Niners making that move for D Ford, I'm looking at the draft board again, and now I'm wondering, is there any way you can trade up to number 2 to get Nick Bosa? Because Nick Bosa is the perfect thing you need right now. He's ideal, fit for what you have on your defense. So is that in the Niners? I would say have some flexibility now. They don't have to have a pass rusher. I don't know what the cost would be to go from 4 to 2, but Niners would get another player they definitely could use. They get Quentin Williams at 4 plus another pick.
Yeah.
Or if the Raiders, you stay at 4 and try and get Quinn in. I think the quarterback's going to go pretty high. The quarterback's going to push everybody down a little bit. But Maybe it's possible. Maybe I'd gone from thinking Bosa was never going to happen, but now I think maybe there's a small chance that maybe he can make it happen. I just think for him, I think he's clearly the number one guy on their board. I think he's an impact player in a different way. Quinn Williams is great. Quinn Williams is also an impact guy, but it's hard to get.
He's a guy that's going to draw double teams.
Right. Elite pass rushers are hard to get. Yeah. I think Nick Bosa, he is that. And I think he's better than his brother. So I think, I don't know what the Niners and Raiders, if they can do business after that whole the stadium debacle, but maybe they can.
Yeah, the hard thing is, I think Nick Bosa is also a great fit for the Niners. I think if you're the Niners, you probably look at it and it's all of a sudden we can have Bosa and Ford with Forrest Buckner inside, that really makes you pretty special. But they could also look at it, say, if Josh Allen with D Ford.
Josh Allen, and I haven't looked at the chart, but it's a second round pick probably to get up there.
Yeah,
but
because the Niners only have 6 draft picks the whole draft.
Exactly.
So if the Raiders can give up, if they can give up 4 and 35 and move up to 2. That's pretty good. For the Niners, you're still going to get one of those. Assuming Kyler Murray goes number 1, you're still guaranteed to get, either Bosa, Williams, or Allen. And I think for them, they'd probably Bosa or Allen just because they've got so many interior guys. Right. But they basically guarantee themselves that they're probably at worst getting Josh Allen, and they're getting that high second-round pick. That's a pretty good deal for both sides. So that is something to watch, but it's the Cross Bay trades are tough.
It's probably a long shot. But I grinned from thinking it was impossible to get Bosa a couple days ago to maybe it's not totally impossible. I do believe he's the guy they're in love with. They like Quinn Williams a lot. Again, they have a lot of guys up front themselves. And, they just re-signed Jonathan Hankins. They got a bunch of guys there. No one's Quinn Williams, but I'm just saying, if you look at what you have and what you need, the pass rush is a glaring need for this team.
Yep. But, let's talk more about Antonio Brown. This is a guy that, we know what he is. He's a future Hall of Famer. If he, it just keeps doing what he's been doing. What do you think are the realistic expectations for him going into year 1 with the Raiders, as he becomes really we're not going to use the word focal point of the offense because that was a bad luck term last year, but he's a guy that defenses have to worry about.
Yeah, I think you look at what he's done. 6 straight 100-catch seasons. There's no reason why he can't have a 7th. That's got to be the goal.
As long as Derek Carr throws him the ball.
Yeah, and he will. I think Gruden will definitely make sure that Brown's option 1, on a lot of plays. And I think you look back at what Carr was like with Crabtree. Definitely, whenever he was in trouble, any big play, he always looked to Crabtree. And that will be the case for Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown is also good at making catches in traffic, and he can get the separation. So I think what we saw in Carr and Crabtree early on, it was so great, it'll be even better with him and Brown. I think they'll just take it to another level. I think you see that they're at the park yesterday playing catch in Danville, and I think Derek has a lot to prove. And Derek knows it. Derek knows that people are looking at him as not being totally sold, fans or not sold on him. He knows all. He says he doesn't read anything, but he reads all the stuff. He knows exactly what the perception is. So he knows he can get back to where he was 2016 as far as a guy who's looked at being almost MVP guy in 2016. He got some votes.
For third.
Yeah, and fans loved him. I think this is his shot to get back there, and he knows it, and I think he'll try and take advantage of it.
Yeah, and you give him, we talked about this last show or whatever, that if you give him an Antonio Brown, the reason you get him an Antonio Brown is because this really gives you all the evaluating tools you need. And then you add the Tyrell Williams. You're giving him 2 receivers.
Right.
And we'll see what else they have.
And you're giving him a 380-pound tackle. So, the one thing about Carr, where it looks at sometimes happy feet, doesn't really stand in the pocket, doesn't make great decisions when things break down. But now you add probably the best right tackle in the league, then I think you got something.
That's right. He is the best right tackle in the league, right?
It's not official, but Mayock today said we're not going to discuss whether he's a left or right tackle today, which subtitles to me means he's right tackle.
Yeah, and
it's flexible. Things could change, but I don't want to cut you off, but they think Colton's going to – that's not just – a lot of things with Gruden, you don't know what he's saying, if it really means it, if it's just hyperbole, but I really believe him and the staff think Colton Miller can be a Pro Bowl left tackle. And that's – they drafted him last year. They talked about him all year long. He played hurt. They like his toughness. I don't think Gruden's ready to torch his first-round pick last year that quickly and move him to the right side.
Yeah, and that's the big thing for me in this is that you can't this soon move Colton Miller off left tackle. You drafted him in the first round. You passed on a chance to bring in a guy like Derwin James, and we saw the rookie year that he had because you needed a left tackle. And so if you were to so quickly bounce him over to right, and it's not even just like that we're so quickly bouncing him over to right. He has a documented history that he has openly talked about, that when he was at UCLA and he started at right and then he moved to left, that was difficult for him.
For a long time. It
took him a long time to adjust. And so now you've had a whole year playing left tackle after playing left tackle at the end of your UCLA career, and then now you're going to go back to the right. And then maybe in a couple years, we need you back in the left. Like, I think you've got to give him 3 years to start his career as your left tackle, and if you can always move him to the right side later on, you've given it a true shot. But for right now, you have to give him a true shot to be your left tackle. And the other good point that I know a lot of people were making is that having a bright tackle in this, especially in this division, is just as important as having a good left tackle. I mean, Von Miller a lot of times is going to be going up against your right tackle. I mean, so you need a guy, and Von Miller is a guy that's gushed about Trent Brown before from when he played against him and practiced against him. The Niners and Broncos have had some joint practices over the years, and that's the thing about Trent Brown. I mean, he's not the best run blocker, but pass blocker there aren't many better than him.
Yeah, I think when and if this becomes official, I think people on the outside, especially nationally, are going to say they paid all that money to a right tackle. Are they nuts? Which I get. It's a logical reaction. But again, if you have a good offensive line, and who cares where the money breakdown is?
Because you're not paying much for your left tackle right now. He's on a rookie deal.
Exactly. So I think you can logically balance out that way and think, you know what? They just got rid of Assembly, so they got rid of $10 million there. So they're kind of redistributing the money on the line. As long as Carr's not getting hurt, who cares where the money went? If Trent Brown comes in, there's a great right tackle, and Colton Miller does a good job on the left side, then you're fine. So it doesn't really matter how much you gave to a right tackle.
Yeah, I mean, and you heard the way Mayock talked about him. He's like, we're excited to get Antonio Brown, but man, Trent Brown was their number one target, their number one guy on the board as far as offensive tackles. I mean, he for a minute there, he almost sounded more excited about Trent Brown than Antonio Brown.
The Brown brothers, that's what we called them, the Brown brothers. So that's definitely, again, for Derek, is great. I mean, you couldn't ask for more than a number one playmaking receiver and a 380-pound tackle. Derek Carr is pretty freaking happy.
And there was one guy they didn't get, though. We waited up late on on Tuesday night to listen to.
She loves my drip. That's my favorite jam on the Le'Veon Bell mixtape.
Should that be the new intro music?
Yes.
If he had come here, we might have had to talk to him to see if we could make that the intro music.
Thank God he didn't come here, because I wouldn't have made it. I would have said that was terrible. It's like, Le'Veon, I'm glad you're here, but God, that was bad.
Yeah, but Le'Veon Bell goes to the Jets instead of the Raiders, and
a marketing genius, though. In terms of to wait till midnight, so everyone, all these stupid sports writers, clicked on his mixtape, and then to announce where he's going was just genius. And
to not do it in the mixtape, he was supposed to. We're all expecting it in the lyrics.
Yeah, I think it was already done. though. So tip of the cap to Le'Veon Bell for his marketing prowess, and I got the sense really I think he wanted to be here. I really think that if the money was at all close, he would have come here. I think he was excited about Gruden, excited about Antonio Brown. I'm not sure he's really loving the idea of playing for the Jets in New York, because that offer was there for a while. I mean, that offer, they were in first place most of the way, and he kind of was waiting for everybody. Hey, everybody.
Like, I'm here.
Yeah, catch up. This is the number. Who can top this? Come on. And no one really. The Niners took a shot late last night. They couldn't get there, and I think clearly they have a backup plan. They got Tevin Coleman today, so they definitely addressed their running back need on the other side of the bay. But, Le'Veon Bell would have been nice. But, again, I give Gruden and Mayock credit for not
disciplined.
Not going off their offer. They could have. I'm sure you get excited about the possibilities. You get when a guy wants to be here, and you're like, it only takes another $3 million. Like, yeah, let's do it. That's where you get in trouble. So I like the idea they kind of held firm. This is our offer. We'd love to have you here, but this is all we can do. Yeah. And he's like, nah, I can't do it. And the guy held out last year.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. You miss a whole year of football just because you're waiting to get paid. You are taking the top dog. That's all the negotiations were about. Is whoever is going to pay him the most. That's where he was going to go. And but yeah, I mean, you mentioned being impressed with Gruden and Mayock, and I mean, obviously impressed with how they handled the Antonio Brown negotiations. Because I mean, I think for a long time we're thinking, the 27th pick, that'll get it done. And last time we were on their show, you probably don't need to spend the 27th pick, but 35. You can make it happen early second rounder. That's not a bad deal for Antonio Brown. Make it happen. They didn't have to give up that. I mean, they were able to keep all 4 of those picks and just wait out the market until really they were the last team standing.
Until Brown had torched it. Until Antonio Brown torched it with every interview and every social media post until there was nobody left but the Raiders. And then they gave him the new contract, which was key. And I think the idea of Vegas definitely is very exciting to him. So in 2020, and so. Yeah, they did a nice job, man. It's been a good start for the offseason for both those guys. Again, the Tyrell Williams contract, I'm not crazy about that one. I might give him a small mark off for that one, but I like everything else they've done. Yeah.
I guess the deal what was hammered up pretty much on Friday night. John was saying that Mark Davis had invited him and Mayock down to Vegas for expecting to have a little double date with both their wives, and they had to ditch their wives and hang out with Antonio and Drew Rosenhaus and get this all hammered out.
Yeah, so I'm sure the wives had a good time whatever they're doing, so I'm sure it worked out. But yeah, it's a price of business. You got to hang out in Vegas and knock some stuff out.
So. Defensively, they have not done anything major on that side of the ball here in free agency in the early stages.
Lamarcus Joyner.
They did get Lamarcus Joyner.
He's going to play safety. He's going to play slot corner. He's going to blitz from the outside. He's going to play a little middle linebacker. So
he's going to get Carl Joseph confident, and Carl Joseph's like, I'm the big safety on this team.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think he'll be mostly a nickel
slot
guy. But he's very good. He's. If he was any taller, he'd be a lot richer. But he's only 5'8". But he's a very good player.
Disappointed that they didn't bring in anybody else on the defensive side of the ball. Did it really seem like they targeted anybody else? It didn't seem like they were really. I know Anthony Barr had been a guy that you had been kind of pointing to that you'd like to see, but that didn't seem like that was ever really.
No, I think once they made Trent Brown the number one target, they couldn't really focus on the top defensive guys. I thought they might get on Cameron Wake, but he wouldn't play more than I thought he was going to go for. So, still a couple of guys left. There's still Marcus Golden is out there and Deion Jordan. So there's still some guys who can rush a passer, not maybe. And Justin Houston's still out there.
Houston, so the Chiefs are just dumping guys on defense. They released Eric Berry today.
You still have a chance to address the pass rush in free agency and get one in the draft. So I think there's not. The Raider fans are going crazy. They love the offense, but they're worried about the defense. But and I'm sure Paul Gunther's going crazy. Speaking of guys going crazy, but I think it'll be fine. I think you'll see them add a pass rusher probably today or tomorrow, and then probably get one in the draft and hopefully, the key guys are in the key. No pun intended. But if Arden takes a step up and gains some weight, gets a little stronger at finishing, then you may have something.
My theory is that Paul Gunther, he does get to breathe easier now. He sees that they've done so much on offense and free agency that he's like, all right, the draft is going to be mine.
I guarantee you he's not breathing easy. Nope. I guarantee you he's sweating. He's like, freaking John, he's going to get more guys on. He's like able to pass up a tight end in the draft, and I'm sure he's sweating it. Till the second that pick is in on draft night, he's going to be sweating it because he definitely knows his boss loves offense. They can say all he wants about getting a pass rusher and getting another cornerback, but when they're at 24 and there's a tight end there, John's like, "Wow, this guy's incredible." And then, sorry, Paul. So we'll see what happens. Then, I guess you have to outscore teams. I guess you got to score 40 points a game, but fans will love that. So it's all positive.
My numerals there is that I think they can get 3 defensive guys and a tight end with those 4 picks. I think you walk away pretty happy. If I'm Gunther, I'm crossing my fingers, hoping for at least 2 defensive guys. If it's any less than 2,
how about Hollywood Brown at 35? I know he's coming off the injury. He's only weighed 166 pounds, but you got
slot guy,
Antonio's cousin.
You got your 2 out. You've got your 2 guys on the outside now.
I could definitely see that. I would definitely. I know Antonio was joking on Instagram about it, and he kind of backed off, but there's some value there. He's at one point he was supposed to be a first-round pick. I don't think he will be anymore. So, again, though, he's awfully small, but you watch his college tape, he's awfully good, and so to me, I'm kind of going to pencil that one in at 35. I'm saying Hollywood Brown 35.
Well, you just reunite the whole crew that's working out together. Kyler Murray, Antonio Brown, Hollywood Brown, just the workout buddies are getting together.
Man, we're just talking so much about Derek Carr. We're pumping him up, saying now you got to mention Kyler Murray.
The Kyler Murray thing, until he goes number 1 to Arizona, it's going to linger around as a talking point, even if it shouldn't. It's going to linger around.
Well, that's
just
the thing
because.
With John, you never know with John.
No.
To me, I think I'm pretty sure it's smoke. I think it's brilliant in terms of today. Greg Olson's out there at his pro day today. You're looking at him. I think it's brilliant as far as make people think you might take him.
You have to, yeah.
But I don't think it makes sense. But again, I can't rule it out because Gruden's definitely he's crazy. So I think. But I can't see it.
Yeah, you have enough of that out there that basically forces Arizona to take him at number 1 because if Arizona,
I think they will anyway. I think that's today they didn't send their owner and coach and GM weren't there the pro day. Nobody went for the Cardinals. Yeah, that's really clever. That's nice. That's tricky. I'm like, oh, they're not going to take him, I guess, because not at his pro day. But whatever. But I think he's going to win, so it won't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best you can hope for is that you can really get that QB market drummed up so that somebody comes up and takes Haskins, and then, like we've talked about, I mean, if that guarantees that Bosa or Williams is available for you, that's a great situation.
I mean, you got to figure the Giants now, adding another first-round pick. I mean, they got to. I would think they have to be targeting Haskins. I mean, logically, I think if we really are rebuilding and you want a young quarterback and he's right there for you, got to move up a couple spots from. I think they're 6 right now.
Yeah.
But and now you get an extra draft pick to move up. That to me would be a logical move on their part. But they're not very logical, so who knows? They're going to go with Eli for the rest of their lives and just hope he turns it around, even though he's been terrible the last couple of years. But I think the Giants will move up, and I think all our Dolphins. I mean. Because they were supposed to get Tyrod Taylor, but he signed with the Chargers today. So
yeah,
Dolphins,
but now they've got Teddy Bridgewater visiting.
That's right,
Teddy Bridgewater is me. You know, everyone was hyping up his return to the Saints. He's turning down more money to stay with the Saints, but now Teddy Bridgewater might be going.
There have been so many reports this week that have been off, and to me, it really hammers home the line. I'm not sure a lot of fans realize this, but agents lie a lot.
I do.
I mean, so much. Like you talk to agents all the time on the phone yesterday, all day with them. 2/3 is BS, and I think if you're those guys on national TV, you have to carry out these rumors and these reports, and you got to trust. There's definitely a blind truster sometimes. I think in the terms of yesterday, Bridgewater, an example of, he's definitely going to stay here. He's going to be Breeze's successor. All of a sudden, you wake up, what? He's in Miami. What? He's at the facility. What? So again, agents lie, and so that makes his job hard for everybody.
Yep. All right. Well, you got anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
Nah, I'm good, man. Fresh start, no defense, Paul Gunther sweating. What else?
Sweating profusely.
Yeah, he must be just a nervous wreck. But it'll all work out. I'm sure he and Gruden carpool home together, so I'm sure he's in Gruden's ear like, hey, man, don't forget about me, man. Yeah, this guy's great. Yeah, this guy's great.
Linebacker. Give me a pass rusher.
Come on, man. Don't do me like last year. Come on, John. And John's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll hook you up.
I got you. Don't worry about it.
He'll get somebody. He'll get at least one of those first 4 picks.
Exactly. But, yeah, I mean, obviously fans are fired up. The fans are outside here today. They want the Antonio Brown press packets. They're offering me $20 for it.
I think we get a bidding war if we just walk out there with him. But
just like mob scene, like the Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd are out there just like but, yeah. So, anyway, fans are fired up. I'm happy for them because last year was –
Last year sucked. It sucked for everybody. Yeah, nobody had fun. It's these guys deserve to at least be excited. I mean, we joke about the Raiders-Browns AFC title game. Everybody loves to joke.
Oh, you were joking? I thought you were serious.
Okay. Everyone loves to anoint the winners of the offseason. And right now, I mean, obviously winners of the offseason means nothing because it only matters what you do once the season starts. But when you've had a rough stretch, as both those franchises have, it's fun to be a winner of the offseason. It's fun to feel like there's reason to be excited about this upcoming season. And,
especially if you're an Oakland fan who a month ago was like, man, they come back to Oakland. They stunk last year. They're leaving in 2020. Why am I going to go to games? Do I want to go to games? Am I going to buy tickets? No, I think you're
buying tickets.
You want to go. You're going to watch the show and watch Antonio Brown and then the Brown brothers. So I think it's good.
Do you think now that they're going to be back in Oakland, I mean, it should be finalized, I guess, later this week.
96%.
Yeah. Now that they're back in Oakland, now that they've got Antonio Brown, Marshawn Lynch, do you think that happens?
I'm still going to say hard maybe. I think he wants to come back. I think he hasn't been fully cleared health-wise. I think the Raiders are open to the idea of having him back, but we saw with Le'Veon Bell. I mean, if they got Le'Veon Bell, there's no way Marshawn's here. Yeah. So they're looking at other options. I think they're looking at maybe the guys they have back, and I think Doug Martin will be back in some role. So I think they're not sure. I really think the Raiders are they like the idea, but at the same time, he's older and he's maybe not worth it. I mean, I hate to say that, but he's obviously a great running back. But you can probably do a little better in terms of someone younger and a little fresher and more reliable. So I just think they like the idea, but I think they haven't decided yet.
I could see waiting, having him sit out the off-season program, then maybe you get into training camp, and then you pull the trigger. You get him. You get him a little extra time to rest in the offseason. Doesn't have to participate in that offseason program. We know some of those vets don't love that offseason program.
Yeah, the problem with that plan, I think they're going to decide before then because they'll have to sign someone this week, or they're going to draft somebody.
Chris Warren, come on, they've got the Chris Warren hype train.
They like Chris Warren. I think the fans are excited about him, but by no means are they planning on Chris Warren being the guy. I think they want to give him a shot. They want to see what he can do, but by no means are they like, hey, man, we got Chris Warren, we're good.
If they felt like that about him, he would have been on the roster last year.
Right, exactly. And the same with Doug Martin. We like Doug Martin, but, he's not a bona fide number one guy who's going to make sure you feel secure. So, the Bell interest was interesting. I think that definitely, to me, it shows me that they are looking for something else than Marshawn. But, again, Marshawn's an option. I think he will be for a little while, but I'm just not sure John Gruden's totally sold on him coming back.
All right. Well, I think this will officially wrap up.
This is the last one.
At least so we're saying.
So next week when they demand another emergency podcast.
No, but I think this will probably be our final one of this iteration. But as we told you guys last week and whenever the heck that last show was, we will be back sometime in April with a new and better show, and should be fun. And thanks for pressuring us into giving you one last show here. The circumstances did demand it.
Yeah, thanks guys for following along and listening. We appreciate it.
All right, talk to you guys again soon.